got a really big update on Ardarius Washington that doesn't make me the most comfortable, but hopefully the Ravens end up being right on it. The details of Marcus Williams' release, and the Baltimore Ravens bring in a new and also a familiar face. Team Keep It Clean, we got a lot of updates to get into. Let's just get into it right away. Before we do, make sure you subscribe to the channel and turn notifications on so you don't miss a single thing, and leave a like on the video because it helps out a lot. So Ardarius Washington. The Baltimore Ravens, they tendered Ardarius Washington. It says the Ravens gave safety Ardarius Washington the $3.2 million right of first refusal tender. So what that means is that if Ardarius Washington signs an offer sheet from another team, then the Ravens would have a chance to match it. What an offer sheet is from another team is when a team, they create a contract for that player. And if that player likes it, he's like, oh, you know what? That looks good. I'm willing to take that. Then the Baltimore Ravens, they have the opportunity to either match that offer or they have the opportunity to not match that offer. And then Ardarius Washington will go to the other team. But in this case, if the Baltimore Ravens did not match the offer that Ardarius Washington received from another team, then they wouldn't get anything. Because there's some tenders where you can tender a player for like a second-round pick, and if that player signs an offer sheet from another team, then you would get that team's second-round pick. But in this case, the way that they tendered Ardarius Washington, if he signs an offer sheet from another team, then the Baltimore Ravens would get absolutely nothing. So they run the risk of potentially losing Ardarius Washington, but this is basically the Baltimore Ravens saying that, hey, we don't think it's another team that's going to sign Ardarius Washington away from us, or they're saying, hey, if another team signs Ardarius Washington away from us, we're cool with it. So hopefully, in my opinion, I don't want Ardarius Washington going nowhere. I really love Ardarius Washington as a player. He was a baller, in my opinion. He went out there and did his thing for the Ravens, and he showed up in a major way, man. He really did. He was consistent. He was great, man. So I just love seeing him and Super Duper Kyle back there holding it down. And I'm sure the Baltimore Ravens are going to add to the mix at safety too. But I just don't want Ardarius Washington going nowhere. So we'll see what happens with that. It says, this is from Jeff Zrebick too. He said the Ravens and Ardarius Washington had extension talks, but they couldn't agree to a deal. The Ravens could have put the $5.3 million second round tender on Ardarius Washington that would have gotten them a second round pick if Washington signed an offer sheet somewhere else and they didn't match, but they opted not to. So Ravens running some risky business with Ardarius, and hopefully it pays off for them. But we'll see what happens, because y'all know anything is possible in this league. Now, the last day that another team can sign him to an offer sheet is April 18th. So for the next month, Ardarius Washington, if a team decides, hey, we like Ardarius Washington, we want to sign him to an offer sheet, and what they can do, because the Ravens, they are a little strapped for cash right now, depending on how you're looking at it. But the Ravens, they don't have much salary cap space. Obviously, they can do some things so they can get more. Y'all already know how that goes. But if another team is like, you know what, we want to pry Ardarius Washington away from the Baltimore Ravens, they could construct a contract into which it would be very front-loaded. There'd be a lot of guaranteed money in it, and they could really try to pry Ardarius Washington away, and it would be hard for the Ravens to match. So, again, we'll see. We'll see what happens with this whole thing. Now, Marcus Williams, he was, of course, released yesterday officially. Ravens they waited a couple hours after 4 to announce it. I think they announced it at maybe 7:30, 8 o'clock, something like that. But anyway, he has officially been released, and they announced him as a post-June 1st release. So we got that's finally cleared up. It's finally official. And Marcus Williams, he is free to sign with any other team now. So it's going to be interesting to see who picks him up and what his role ends up being in the future. Now, the Baltimore Ravens, they got active in free agency yesterday too, because they signed a linebacker. But they signed a special teams linebacker from the Rams, linebacker Jake Hummel. And Jeff Zrebick gave us these details on him. He said Hummel played in 77% of the Rams special team snaps last year. That's a lot. That's a lot. And he said, and 80% of them in 2023. It's funny, Ravens fans going to find anything. because when I saw Jeff Zrebiec tweet that, somebody responded to that with a picture of Tylan Wallace, his famous punt return on the Rams that got us the victory, and they showed Jake Hummel getting blocked on there. I'm like, really? Come on. Like, Ravens, come on. He's a Raven now, so you could delete that from your memory. But anyway, shout out to Jake Hummel. He said the Ravens lost their two most active special teamers, in Malik Harrison and Chris Board, in free agency, and Hummel will replace some of their snaps. And yeah, so I would expect obviously him to do that, but Ravens are still going to continue to fill that special teams void with linebackers, maybe some Trenton Simpson. We'll see a lot more of him on special teams because I don't know what's going to happen with him as far as the linebacker role next to Roquan Smith. I don't see it being him in the future. I don't see the Ravens turning back to him. But hey, you never know, because obviously different players have come back from a lot worse things than that to claim their starting roles back and ended up having success. Will Trenton Simpson be one of those players? We'll see. Time will tell. But anyway, Jake Hummel is now a Baltimore Raven. Jeff Zrebiec also said that Hummel had 8 special teams tackles and also blocked a punt that led to a touchdown against the Buffalo Bills. So we hear stuff like that, especially bad stuff happening for the Buffalo Bills, and it's a good thing for the Ravens, and that player's on the Ravens now. That's music to our ears. We love it. We love it. But anyway, speaking of that punt return that Tylan Wallace got, Tylan Wallace is back. The Baltimore Ravens brought back Tylan Wallace. They signed him to a 1-year deal. Let's read this. It says, it's a 1-year deal for Ravens and Wallace. Wide receiver set career highs last year with 11 receptions for 193 yards, and he's made plays when he's gotten opportunities. He's a physical blocker on the outside and one of the Ravens' better special teams players. And the max value of Tylan Wallace's deal, $2.25 million if he hits his incentive. So Tylan Wallace is back. So that receiver room is starting to shape out a little bit. Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman, DeAndre Hopkins, Tez Walker, Anthony Miller, Tylan Wallace. And will they draft somebody? They could. I wouldn't expect them to draft anybody early, but we'll see. But the receiver room is really starting to take shape. And with Tylan Wallace, him being back, with Tylan Wallace, like, I don't know, man. Like, when you ask what receiver on this team got the best hands, you got to throw Tylan Wallace in the mix too, because and I know it's kind of wild to say this, but at the same time, when Tylan Wallace, you look at all the other receivers, the ball is thrown their way, and Rashad Bateman and Zay Flowers, they get a lot more targets, so it's kind of harder to say this, but they've had some drops. Isaiah Likely, Mark Andrews, they had some drops. Nelson Aguilar, he had some drops. Tylan Wallace, I know he only had 11 catches last year, but still, when the ball is thrown Tylan Wallace's way, that man does not drop anything. He don't get many opportunities, but when his number is called, that boy Tylan Wallace always shows up. So I'm not mad at the Baltimore Ravens bringing him back. This is one that I was sort of back and forth on, because I felt like with Tylan Wallace, if he was to return to the Baltimore Ravens, and it was said that the Ravens wanted him back, and it was said he wanted to be back, but at the same time, I would not have been mad at him going elsewhere, because he just was not going to get the opportunities with the Baltimore Ravens like that. He was, and now obviously with them having DeAndre Hopkins, he's still not going to get many opportunities with the Baltimore Ravens. I feel like if he would have went somewhere else, maybe he could have possibly gotten more opportunities there. Who knows? But I guess Tylan Wallace like, look, coming back to the team, I'm familiar with the team. I'm going to get some opportunities here and there on offense, but probably his biggest opportunities may come from special teams, maybe. But I still think the Baltimore Ravens should look for a punt returner. They tried it last year with Deontay Hardy. Didn't work out. You can't stop trying, though. You still got to look for a punt. And I know Tylan Wallace did his thing a couple of years ago, and he was a solid punt returner. And maybe he could still win the job back again. But I think the Ravens should still look for a punt returner. But Tylan Wallace being back, this is a good thing. Good depth, and again, good, reliable hands. Now we reach my favorite part of these videos where we get to feature your questions. If you would like to take part in it, you can send an email to teamkeepitclean@gmail.com, or for the Team Keep It Clean patrons, you can send your question in a DM directly on Patreon. And if y'all would like to become one, you can go to patreon.com/Ingravenvids. Let's get into it. First question came from a patron, my guy, Eddie. He said, what's up, Ingraven? What's up, Eddie? He said, Mandrews is not going anywhere. We gonna see. He said he will play out his contract and right his wrongs. Time will tell, my friend. I don't know, man. He said, do you feel like Isaiah likely will have a bigger role than him this season? If Mark Andrews stays with the Ravens, no. If Mark Andrews leaves, well, obviously if Mark Andrews leaves, but if Mark Andrews stays with the Ravens, Isaiah likely will not have a bigger role than him. I just do not see any situation where if Mark Andrews stays with the Ravens are like, all right, Mark Andrews, you're going to be the number 2 tight end now, and Isaiah likely is going to take over for you. They're not going to do that. They ain't gonna do that. And he said, P.S. We appreciate you and everything you do. No, man, you ain't gotta say that. I appreciate y'all, man, because y'all make everything what it is. Again, it ain't got nothing to do with me. It's all y'all straight up, man. And he said, one more quick question. What happened to Nick Boyle? Oh, boy, injuries just got the best of Nick Boyle. He tried to come back, and he started trying to be a long snapper or a center or something. It just didn't. The injury just ruined his career. Next question came from my guy, Terrence. He said, Ingraven, now keep it quick. Bateman got a hard time for half the season last year over drops and light being in his eyes. Oh, yeah. Oh, I was just thinking about that play the other day. That in the Browns game where Lamar threw it up, and Bateman was like, oh, he was wide open. I was like, oh, yeah, let's go. And then, boop. Hit him right in the, oh, man, that was a tough one. Anyway, he said conversations around Zay versus Bate changed when the playoffs came around and Zay couldn't make it, focusing around Zay's yards versus Bateman's touchdowns. Do you think Zay gets the extension at the end of his contract if the roles of Bateman and Zay stay the same, or will Zay need to improve his ability to put points on the board if he wants to beat out Bateman for that contract? I could definitely see a scenario where they keep Bate instead of Zay because of the cap implications versus production. Oh, my goodness. This is a down the road. That's a tough question, man. Wow. Ooh, I ain't supposed to be thinking this hard this early in the morning, man. That is a tough question, man. So do you think they could end up keeping Bate over Zay? Man, Bate like, oof. Yeah, Zay got him on the yards. I think probably the targets too, because Zay Flowers gonna get like 1 million targets. But Bateman got him, yeah, on the efficiency when it comes to just scoring touchdowns. That is just something. It's like with Zay Flowers, Zay will be the player that'll get them those grinded out yards going down the field, and then they like, all right, touchdown time, Rashad Bateman. So I don't know, man. That is really, really tough. Cause I think both of their contracts they run out at the same time, because they signed Bateman to that super extremely team friendly deal last year, and Zay Flowers is on his rookie deal. Obviously, wow. I don't know, man. I don't know, because again, Zay, you may think it ain't got nothing to do with nothing, but Zay from South Florida, that's Lamar. Hey, like, look, and you know Lamar would obviously have a say so in that. But obviously, the ultimate decision will come down to Eric DeCosta and John Harbaugh. I don't know. I really don't know. I really don't know. I love how you mentioned conversations around Zay versus Bate changed when the playoffs came around and Zay couldn't make it. Yeah, because Bateman, he was still showing up and he did his thing. He was doing his thing. Then it sucked when he went out. I was like, oh boy, but hey, Lamar still took that team right down the field. But I mean, you know the rest of the story. I really don't know. That is such a tough question. I really do not know the answer to that. I don't know. I got Terrence really had me stumped just now. I didn't know how to answer that last question, man. Anyway, next question came from my guy Darin. He said, would you trade Mark Andrews in the third for Micah Parsons? Yes, I would. Next question came from my guy JDub. He said, Ingraven, in your opinion, who do you think the Ravens should target in free agency in the NFL draft? In my opinion, here's what I'm thinking. Free agency, edge rusher, or offensive line, corner, wide receiver, and safety. But in the draft, corner, edge rusher, wide receiver, D-line, O-line, and safety. In free agency, edge rusher, I feel like it ain't no needle movers out there like that. So I would actually put that one to the draft. As far as corner would be both. Get somebody that could be a starter, but also look for that in the draft as well. First round, I mean, Marlon Humphrey getting up there, but you still got a while to go with him, in my opinion. To get another corner in the draft, and they will. Offensive line, that could be both. I would probably say the draft would be more important for the offensive, or a high priority via the draft, because that's going to be more of a long-term thing. A veteran that you sign, especially at this point, it's probably not going to be a long-term thing. It's probably going to be a 1-2 year deal. So a plug-and-play guy. So I would say the higher priority would be for the draft for offensive line. Wide receiver, especially after DeAndre Hopkins, after you bring back Tylan Wallace, that's going to be very, very low priority, free agency and the draft now. And safety. Safety. I think that, especially with the whole Ardarius Washington, he just got tendered, so he's here for 1 year now. We'll see what happens after this, but the safety, that would be high in the draft. As far as free agency, not too high, but maybe they'll, like in the second or third wave, maybe they'll find somebody there. But I think it's much higher for draft priority than it is free agency. Next question came from my guy Roy. He said, "Hey, Ingraven, do you think the Ravens will try to extend Derrick Henry?" Oh yeah, for sure. We're waiting on it any day now. For real, any day now, man. He said he only has 1 year left on his contract, and I believe we should lock him up given how well he fit into our offense last year. Yeah, Henry said he want to stay. Eric DeCosta said he want to keep him, and he ain't got no guaranteed money left on it. And after running for 1,900 yards, and you ain't got no guaranteed money left on your deal, oh yeah, they gonna do it. It's just a matter of time. Next question came from my guy Davel. He said, "Peace, King. Hope you and the family doing well. This time the Ravens stressed me out." He said we should go after Darius Slay. He's the best corner free agent. Well, now he's a Pittsburgh Steeler. He said, "And teams in our division have great wideouts. Steelers adding DK is tough. I'm hoping they don't add Aaron Rodgers." We're going to see. Because Aaron Rodgers, apparently they offered him a deal, but Russell Wilson, he's still on the table. Steelers waiting on everybody. Everybody waiting on Steelers. Everybody waiting on Aaron Rodgers. So we're going to see. I would love, because Russell Wilson visiting the Browns. He probably don't really want to go to the Browns. He probably just visited them to try to make the Steelers jealous so they could offer him a deal. But what I would love to see is if Aaron Rodgers went to the Giants. Oop, I'm over here hitting stuff. And Russell Wilson went to the Browns. So then what would the Steelers? Because what's his name? A lot of people thought that I was about to say Josh McCown. What's the quarterback? Sam Darnold. A lot of people thought he might go to the Steelers, but he went to the Seahawks. So who would the Steelers get at quarterback if Aaron Rodgers is gone, Russell Wilson is gone? I would love them to be in that scenario. So we'll see, man. I'm gonna keep hoping. He said Hopkins was an okay pickup. We always get these type of players late in their career. I understand your frustration with that one, and I do wish it would have happened sooner. But for what Hopkins' role is going to be this year, I think it's a good pickup. Next question came from my guy Tay. He said, "Why is our Ravens fan base mostly divided like our team never dealt the way they always do in years for free agency?" Because people want more. People want more, and especially with free agency, the start of it, you see all these other teams making all this crazy stuff happening. We like, hey, Ravens, we want you to do that same thing. But this happens every year. Every year it happens. Every year people get frustrated at how the Ravens operate, what they do or what they don't do at the start of free agency. Then the Ravens make a couple moves here, a couple subtle moves there, and whatnot. So it's an annual thing. So we all used to it by now. He said a key piece when Ricard can play hybrid offensive and defensive, so his signing is kind of perfect. But Ricard ain't played no defensive snapping forever. He ain't on a defensive line anymore. So you could take that part out. But what he does on offense, he does a lot on offense. So, and he's a big part of what the Baltimore Ravens do. He said, so his signing is kind of perfect for a backup right tackle, right guard, left guard, possibly left tackle, as well as any guard block for plays to happen. Nah, Ricard, he ain't no offensive lineman. Ravens use him as an extra offensive, but to put him at left tackle, no, we ain't doing all that now. He said, now offense is set so far. Now focus on getting our dominant defense back. Our defense was dominant last year. After them first 10 weeks, they were dominant last year. But he said Hopkins signing with our wide receiver, running back, offensive line brotherhood is AAA plus. Be blessed, and I'm out. Appreciate you, Tay. Next question came from my guy, Coach G's Corner. He said, "What's up, Ingraven? Always love to you for what you do for the Ravens flock community." Now, I appreciate you, Coach G. He said, "Let me get straight to it. Do you think Marlon Humphrey will be a Raven next year?" I certainly do. He said, "If so, does he make the full-time transition to safety to replace Marcus Williams, and we draft Malachi Starks for the future depth and flexibility?" No, it's too early for Marlon Humphrey to be moving to safety. When he does make that transition, like we've been saying for a long time, it's going to be amazing. But Marlon Humphrey's still a really, really good corner right now. It's way too early. He ain't slowing down that corner yet, so he don't need to be transitioned to safety yet. He said, also, I think we need to address the inside linebacker position. I love to see a proven vet next to Roquan Smith instead of a young guy. We've seen how elite our defense is with 2 quality linebackers in the middle. Oh, and somebody just came available, but we talk about that later. He said it. Anyway, lastly, if we trade Mark Andrews, which we need to do, instead of letting him walk for free, what do you think we get in return for him? I know that's a lot, but man, I love the Ravens, and I just want us to make great moves. I think our window is right now to make these championship moves. Be blessed, brother, and Graven, appreciate you, Coach G. That window been open for a long time. Ever since, really since 2018, the end of 2018, but then from then on, the window been wide open. The Ravens just been peeking through it. They ain't jumped through it, but they been peeking through it. So we just hoping that, it ain't going to close no time soon, in my opinion. I know a lot of people say, oh, well, Ravens Super Bowl window is right now. Then they say it the next year. Then they say the next year. Then they say the next year. Is Ravens Super Bowl window closing? No, man. It's really not. It's really not. The way that this Baltimore Ravens team is set up, the core players that they have on this team, that Super Bowl window is wide open. We just hoping that they get through it. But anyway, as far as Mark Andrews, what could we get for Mark Andrews? I think they could get, right now, I think the highest that they could get would be a 3rd-round pick, the highest right now. He ain't going to go for no first. He ain't going to go for no second. I think the third would be a lot. And if you can get a 3rd and change, oh, boy, that would be amazing. Because Mark Andrews is an amazing player. Really, really good tight end. Great tight end. Y'all already know about Mark Andrews. So I think a 3rd, especially the timing right now where we are at this stage of free agency, we coming up on a draft very, very soon. So I think a 3rd is the highest. But either a 3rd or a 4th is what I think they'll get for him if they end up trading him. The next question came from my guy D3, and shout out to you for this again. I appreciate you, my friend. Much love to you. He said, "What's good, Ingraven the Team? Keep it clean. What's up, baby? How you doing?" He said, "I hope all is well with you and yours. I just wanted to ask you about some possible reunions for the Ravens and wanted to get everyone's opinion on them. Number 1, Ronald Darby at cornerback. Oh, Ronald Darby was good for the Ravens 2 years ago. He was really good for the Ravens 2 years ago. Came in, filled in. I remember when Marlon Humphrey was out with injury, I was scared. I was like, oh, boy, here we go. But Ronald Darby, he did his thing. So if a lot of other stuff failed, then I wouldn't mind them bringing Ronald Darby back. And he said Calais Campbell, older player, been around for a little minute, but last year he was still balling with the Dolphins. So Michael Pierce just retired. Calais Campbell, I'm sure you could get him for a reasonable price. And he can still be an effective player. Even though he's older, he can still be effective. So wouldn't mind. So Darius Smith. Darius Smith will be solid. Edge rusher. Guy, he'd be solid. Tristan Colon Castillo. Oh, man, I forgot all about him. Where's he at now? Well, I guess he's a free agent if you put him on this list. But I forgot all about him. He used to be a center for the Ravens, and he's an offensive lineman for us. It could help for depth. Kevin Zeitler, well, he's gone now. He just got signed to a 1-year, $9 million deal. I forgot which team he went to. I want to say the Giants, but I don't think I forgot where he signed. But Kevin Zeitler's not a free agent anymore. And he said Matthew Judon. Judon, again, same way I feel about Zadarius Smith, Matt Judon. I feel the same way about both of them. They're not bad players at all. They're not bad. And they will be nice pieces to add as far as quality defensive ends, pass rushers. So yeah, that wouldn't hurt. And he said the second part of my question is, if we don't bring back any of these alumni, what position should we target with the first 2 picks in the draft? I think it depends on how the rest of free agency goes for the Baltimore Ravens. And free agency really never stops from this point on, because you're always adding players, and you're releasing players too. You're always changing your roster. But as far as right here, right now, the first 2 picks in the draft, it's looking like safety could be a pick. Like I said, with Ardarius Washington and stuff, it's looking like it could be safety. Could it possibly be corner? Maybe, but I think offensive line for sure. Getting that guard, the guard for the future, and because just going down the positions. Edge rusher. Excuse me, edge rusher. That's another one. So edge rusher, if it's a guy that's no projects. No projects. Somebody ready right here, right now. So edge rusher and interior offensive lineman. And he said, we just got 4 comp picks, so we should package 2 picks to move up from 27th pick. Oh, so should we package 2 picks to move up from the 27th pick? If you see a guy and you like, hey, this guy, he gonna knock it out the park, If we draft him, if he's on our team, oh yeah, that's the one. I say go for it, because you got 11 picks. You got 11 of them, man. And yeah, the more shots you take, the more chance you got at making. Yeah, we get that, but if you up the quality of those shots, then hey, that could work out even more. So I would not be mad at the Ravens packaging some of them picks and moving on up, especially if they see that guy. He said, thanks again for your time, and please believe that all the effort that you put forth in editing and bringing us the content is greatly appreciated. You're more valuable than you could imagine. Never change. I appreciate you, man. I really do. I appreciate you. And thank you. Thank you for supporting over the years. Thank you to everybody for watching the videos. Thank you for that message, though, man. Because that, like, it is a lot of work. It is a whole lot of work, but it's all worth it for y'all. I love y'all so much. I appreciate y'all so much. Y'all do so much for me. Y'all help out so much. I just love, y'all know we could talk Ravens all day, every day. We could talk all day, every day. But I appreciate the way that y'all are. I appreciate how positive y'all are. I appreciate how respectful y'all are. I appreciate how much love y'all show to each other. I just appreciate y'all a lot. So that's what makes this so fun. Y'all make this fun. Y'all make this enjoyable. So y'all keep being y'all. Y'all, team, keep it clean. You don't change.